Good morning. Welcome to the live stream. Today is Saturday, March 28th. Welcome. My name is Angela. I am a front-end developer and software engineer in St. Paul, Minnesota. How's it going? On this channel, we do vanilla HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Yeah, so that's that. Getting kind of a late start today, so my apologies for that. It is what it is. But here we are. We are working on this project called 30 Days of Vanilla JavaScript because during the month of April 1st to April 30th, I'm going to stream every single day for 30 days, and every day we're going to complete a new prompt. I am using ChatGPT to help me sort of organize the project. And what we're doing up until the 1st is we are actually building a website that will be called 30daysofvanillajavascript.com to support the project, to show what is the prompt. Here we go. What is the prompt? What is the code and the UI that goes with it? So it's going to be a very UI focused set of JavaScript tasks, or at least the first 10 tasks are so far. I did ask ChatGPT to tell me what the first 10 are so we could style and sort out the markup ahead of time, because I don't want those days to be filled with me doing a bunch of CSS. I want it to be really focused on the JavaScript. So there's that. I don't know what the other 20 prompts are, and I'm not quite sure yet how we're going to deal with that. Oh, one moment. Hold, please. Allergies. As soon as I start talking, my nose starts running. So there's that. Yeah, I don't know what the additional 20 prompts are. So far we have a button counter, a character count. Let me move this a little bit here. What's a better view? There we go. Make this a little bigger. So we have a button counter, a character count, text area limit. So here's our button counter. Here's our text area limit. We have an FAQ accordion, which we got these styled this past week. We have a modal dialog trigger, and of course none of these things work yet because we haven't written any of the JavaScript. We're just dealing with markup and CSS to make sure that everything is ready for us. We have tabs, and today we're going to start styling the alerts toast area. We're going to style the filterable list, the theme toggle. This is a good one. We just did this. We did, so I know exactly what my approach is going to be. Here's the other thing that I'm figuring out about working on the website and asking ChatGPT to give me the first 10 prompts along with like kitchen sink markup. So I'm not spending the whole 30 days writing CSS. It reinforces how I like to work, which is that I always start with the HTML and the CSS first, because I tend to let the CSS do all of the heavy lifting. So a lot of things that you absolutely can do with JavaScript, just as an example, the accordions, opening and closing accordions. My approach for accordions is going to be that we click the heading, which is a heading with a button, and that is a trigger to add a class, and then the CSS does the work. So you are going to see an approach to what's the phrase I'm thinking of? You're going to see a UI DOM focused approach to JavaScript where the CSS does the heavy lifting. And I know that that's not everybody's approach, but I believe that that's the best way to do it. So that's what you're going to see me doing. So we need to style the alerts toast area, the filterable list, and just the fact that we've already done so many styles. A lot of these styles are already in place, so there's not a ton left for us to do. Theme toggle, that's going to be the theme switcher. A lot of CSS, because literally a theme toggle, we are adding a class to the body. That's my approach. We're going to add dark. We're we're going to add darker light. Well, pretty much everything is dark because we have a solid color background. So we would be switching to a light, right? So we'll work out those details today, and we'll make sure that that CSS is in place. So the theme toggle is going to be clicking a button, adding a class to the body, and seeing the theme switch. That's mostly CSS. We will write a little additional JavaScript to like write a cookie to remember what the user's preference is. So when they come back and visit this site, as long as they haven't cleared their cookies, they'll see whatever it is that they selected. And like I said, we've done that before. We know how to do that. The contact form is already styled because we did some basic form styles. So there isn't anything we need to do here. And then we have a task list. So I think there's a little styling to do here. I think the alerts toast area and the theme toggle honestly is going to take most of our time today. And that's fine because we really need a full day to finish dealing with some layout issues. The site is not responsive yet. There's some things that we need to do on this navigation, and I know what I need to do. I just haven't done it yet. And if for some reason we don't get it all done by the end of the day tomorrow, Sunday, I will do it offline, but I think we can get it all done. I do. I think we can get it all done, but I'm honestly just going to do it myself offline if I have to. The priority is making sure the UI elements are styled and ready to go first, but obviously we cannot deploy this website if it's not responsive. That is not even, that's non-negotiable. That has to happen. But I am prioritizing styling the UI elements for the purposes of the stream and the challenges, because on Tuesday the 31st, that's going to be our deployment day. That's where we're actually going to set up a LAMP stack, Linux, Apache, MySQL, and PHP on DigitalOcean. We're going to update our DNS settings. So we're going to create an A record and a CNAME record. And we're going to get this deployed using either rsync or FileZilla. Honestly, it doesn't matter which one. I'm on a Mac, so I can use rsync. If you're on a Windows machine, you'd probably use FileZilla. We're going to set up an SSL certificate. We're going to be tinkering with the Apache files, port 80, port 443 for SSL and encryption. It's going to be a good time. Listen, I think that deployment days are fun. I love it because it is such a, it's a very back-end activity, right? For a front-end channel or for a front-end developer. I think it is so incredibly powerful to be a front-end developer who knows how to manage a VPS, a virtual private server. I understand there's nothing wrong with the one-click solutions that exist out there. But if you're a front-end developer, I really encourage you to build up some of your DevOps experience and just learn how to do some basic set up an Apache server, Linux, Apache, maybe understand PHP and MySQL, not required, but certainly is helpful. Yeah, I don't know. I just really enjoy it. So let's say hello to a few people. Let's say hello. Malik Robinson is here. Hello, Malik. Malik is our mod in the chat. Codex here is here, excuse me. Good morning. Hello. So I'm going to see if I can show Nazara. Show Nazara. Please tell me if I'm pronouncing that correctly. I struggle with the usernames sometimes. A few months ago, YouTube switched from display name to username, and it made it much more difficult to pronounce some of the names, so I apologize for that. Oh, I empathize with this. Codex says, I wasn't able to watch your video because my Wi-Fi had issues for the last 2 days, so I missed your live. Well, the replay is still available, so if you want to watch the replay, they're still there. And I empathize because my internet recently was out for 5 days, and it was awesome. It was awful. And Show Nazara, I'm going to go with Show Nazara, says, me too, we don't know, sorry for this, I skipped one lesson. Yeah, the replays are still there. So I never take the replays down. I mean, I can think of one time I took a replay down where I accidentally streamed some copyrighted music when we were doing like the Instagram Reels live streams. That's the only one I've ever taken down. And Roha Chan is here. Hello, good to see you on this lovely Saturday. Yes, the weather is getting much improved in Minnesota. It's a little dreary and it's a little cool. I don't know where you are. Are you in the U.S., Roha Chan? You certainly don't need to share that information with me. I'm just curious if you're comfy sharing. But it is a nice, cool day. I love it because it's not so cold. I can't have the window open, and I don't need to turn the furnace on, thank God. So yeah, and Malik says the previous live streams are available to rewatch on the channel. And I'm behind on a lot of my administrative duties related to the channel. I don't think I've created a playlist in several months, so I need to do that this week. I will try to get to it. I'm slipping on some of my admin duties, I'll just be honest. And Codex, also, I came here to ask what you thought about the website I shared with you and this is where I have to be very embarrassed and tell you that I haven't looked at it yet. I am so sorry. Okay, hang on. I'm gonna write myself a note to look at it because I've just had a few other things on my plate. But I have some I have notes. I have a notebook. I keep notes of things to remember to do. I also haven't checked, what is it on Instagram? The hidden requests, I think it's called. And I said I was going to be better about that too. Check. Okay, it was a color picker website, right? Check the color picker website. So come back tomorrow and I will have checked it, I promise. I wrote myself a note. I will do it this afternoon. I am actually going to be doing some of my admin tasks this afternoon I have set aside. So thank you for your patience. Thank you for reminding me. Sometimes I just don't get to things that quickly. It is what it is. So, okay. Well, should we get started? I think we should get started. Where are we here? Let's zoom out a little bit. So we need to, oh, and Codex says, my Saturday is over. It's already 10 p.m. Of course, you are overseas. So come back on Sunday. Come back tomorrow. You still have two days in the Saturday, 2 hours in the Saturday. So it's still appropriate for me to say come back tomorrow, right? Okay. Was there something else that I wanted to do here? I don't think so. I mean, I feel like we left in a good spot. We read some documentation on Thursday about the dialogue element and the method that you use in JavaScript, show versus show modal. They do two different things. We're definitely going to use show modal. We styled our tabs. I'm good with all of this. Yeah, so alerts toast area. So I didn't know what this was. I didn't know what a toast was. And it turns out a toast is like a little, I'm the last person to find this out. Let me take this down. I'm the last person to find this out. It's where there's like a little box that kind of shows up in the corner and then disappears. So what is that? Is that also a modal dialogue? Would that be a dialogue element, but would we use the show method and not show modal? Let's look at MDN. Let's go back to MDN. So here's the HTML. Here's show modal. If we just do show, there's close. I just want show. The show method interface displays the dialog as a non-modal dialog. So the benefit of using the dialog element is that we get some built-in attributes that are part of the API, right? But that doesn't mean that semantically it actually is a dialog. So I think that's why they give us two different methods, show modal and show. That's what I'm gleaning from this. A non-modal dialog is one where users can interact with content outside or behind the open dialog. Yeah, I think that's exactly what it is, because if a toast comes up, it is still like, so I'm thinking about the toast notification on LinkedIn, which I don't think ever go away. I always have, let's go to LinkedIn, because I feel like I always have things here. So if I go to my network and I accept, there's going to be a toast, isn't there? Usually there is. Okay, well, there was like a little bell. Did they remove the toast? I think they removed the toast. So I think maybe they just put them down in the corner here. So they used to have, my head is in the way, I'll demonstrate here with my mouse. They used to have a toast that would come up here. So if I didn't check LinkedIn for a while and I came back and I had like 20 requests, all 20 of those requests would stack up in a little notification down in the corner, and I had to dismiss every single one individually. And it's been like that for a few years. They must have stopped doing that because it's really annoying. That's the main thing I can think of a toast on a website, right? On web apps, I think they're much more common, but I think they usually go away automatically. They're on a timer, right? So that makes me think that the JavaScript for this would be on a timer, and you would definitely do that with JavaScript. So you would click this, we would add like again, my default is add some sort of class to the body. That triggers a style. And then that would show the modal, and we would use show, not show modal. So we would show the dialog element, but you can still interact with the page. There's no backdrop, right? Because show modal is what creates that pseudo element, the backdrop, that prevents people from interacting with the page. The only interaction that you have with the page is that you can scroll, and we used the open attribute that gets added. Let's see if we can find it here. So here's the dialog element. So when we add the open attribute to the dialog element, it shows the modal. Now, we're not using JavaScript, we're not using show modal, so we don't actually get the backdrop pseudo class, but we styled just a kind of a fake backdrop just for the purposes of styling, because we obviously haven't written the JavaScript yet. So this is what the backdrop would look like. And you can't interact with anything here. Like I'm trying to click on things and I can't interact with anything. Although that could just be because I don't know if this is a good test, because we don't actually have the backdrop element. And then we also use that open attribute here. Body has dialog open, overflow hidden. And that was just to prevent scrolling. So if we took this out, you would see that we can scroll. We can scroll, and I don't want people to scroll. So we'll have to just do a little more testing with that. I want to make sure that people really can't interact. Yeah, people really cannot interact if the backdrop pseudo class is up. And we styled that just to be prepped and ready to go. We styled that. But this is one thing that we're going to have to test our CSS and see what does and doesn't work. So there's that. So here's the open attribute. So what we would probably do with our toast, I'll take this out. Here's our tabs. Here's our alerts toast area. Oh no, here's the filterable list. So here's the toast area. And here's the toast region. I think we should ask ChatGPT about this because we already had to ask ChatGPT why it didn't give us the dialog element. It just gave us a div. So let's ask, because I think a dialog element with the JavaScript method show is going to be the right way to do the alert toast. So let's ask. Let me pull up our conversation. A little bigger. For the toast notification, is it a good idea to also use the dialog element, but instead use the show method so users can still interact with the page. Interact with the page. Interesting. Hang on, give me a second. There's music outside. I'm going to go close my window. One moment. Whoops, wrong one. Okay. Okay, so no, I would not use dialogue for a toast. Why? A toast is not really a dialogue. A dialogue implies a distinct UI surface, something being presented deliberately, some level of focus or announcement semantics. A toast is usually lightweight, temporary, non-blocking, not something the user enters. So even with show instead of show modal, dialogue is still the wrong semantic tool for that pattern. Better way to think about it. A toast is closer to a status message, an alert, a notification region, not a dialogue. Practical downside. If you use dialogue for toast, you are kind of fighting the element's purpose. It may work visually, but semantically it is a mismatch. That matters more in your project because the whole point is vanilla JavaScript with clean markup, not just can I make this element appear on screen. Well, F off. I sometimes don't like that ChatGPT makes this assumption that I'm trying to take shortcuts with things. I don't know, maybe I'm taking it too personally, but that's how I read that. Better direction. Use a normal container for the toast region and treat each toast as a transient message inside that region. This is the more appropriate pattern. Stop it. This is not how I approach things, and you know it. Okay, well, whatever. Now I'm annoyed. Don't be afraid to tell ChatGPT what's what. You cannot hurt its feelings. I mean, I do sometimes think, be nice to AI because when the machines take over, but honestly, I just get so annoyed by comments like that from ChatGPT. Since when have I ever taken the approach of just make it appear? Don't be clean, just anything to get it to work. That's not how I do things, and it knows it. Clearly I take things personally. Imagine what it's like to work with me when somebody on the team says something like that to me. Trust, I'm a nightmare. Malik says, update. I have a research meeting at 3 p.m. Volunteered to research WCAG for text line length and write some guidelines for the design system. Me and another intern will research and present it. Well, good luck with that. And I think that's really great that you are working on accessibility tasks, because that, if you've learned anything from my channel, it's that accessibility is really important, and semantics are also important. And also, text line length. Oh, text, so not line height, but text line length. I'm not going to tell you what I think. We've done that a couple of times on this channel. I think it's 80 to 120 characters. To remind me, I sometimes get it wrong. I always have to Google it, but we've done that before. So I would be curious to find out what your findings are. So Rishapal is here. Hello, welcome. Thanks for joining us. We're happy to have you. Okay. So we'll leave this as is. So ChatGPT is basically saying dialogue is not appropriate, and you really just should use a div. We don't need a div around this button. And Malik says 80 is the suggested max. That sounds about right. Yeah. I mean, I've had people before tell me, please make the text stretch all the way across the page. I'm like, we can't do that. So that's good. I'm glad that you're taking, it's nice to see that you're working for an organization that takes accessibility seriously, because a lot don't. Rishapal says, I am building things that might be illegal for a company should I leave. So that is a question that you should ask an attorney. I'm not an attorney. I don't know. I don't have any context for your situation. You should speak to an attorney if you think something is illegal. I also don't know what country you are in. And if you are in the United States, I'm not an authority on, I'm not a practicing attorney in the US, so you should talk to an attorney about that. And good luck with that. That sounds like a difficult position to be in. And Malik says 50 to 75 is the suggested range for paragraph text. Yeah, we should probably keep that in mind. Remind me of that, Malik, the next time I'm styling pages and blog pages. 50 to 75 is the suggested range for paragraph text. Honestly, what I should do, and I've told myself this a few times, is write like a style guide, a basic style guide for every project. Not even a style as in like color scheme or like styles, but like an accessibility style guide, best practices style guide. I guess I'm giving like a best practices guide the name style guide, but it's as an umbrella term. So, okay, let's get back to our toast. So I don't think we need a div around that button. It's display inline block. The H2 is display block, and this div is going to be hidden, but it's also going to be fixed. And the button is display inline block, but there's nothing else to wrap. So yeah, I think we can do just like this. And I'm guessing that we can't see it right now because, well, there's nothing in it, right? So let's put something in it. We'll put just some lorem ipsum in it. Now we can see it. That might be a bit much. I'll just do this. Let's make sure that we have some paragraph tags. ARIA atomic true, ARIA live polite. Let's see what those are. ARIA atomic. The ARIA atomic attribute. In ARIA live regions, the global ARIA atomic attribute indicates whether assistive technologies such as a screen reader will present all or only parts of the changed region based on the change notifications defined by the ARIA relevant attribute. Live regions are sections of a web page that are updated, whether by user interaction or not. When user focus is elsewhere. Okay, when user focus is elsewhere. So let's go back here and let's actually see what this is supposed to be. Okay, click a button to show a toast message that disappears after a few seconds. JavaScript focus. Creating an element, injecting content. Okay, so the fact that we put something in here, we're going to use JavaScript to create the element and do text content. Okay, a timer, and then removing DOM nodes. Okay, next, nice extras. Success, error, info variants, a close button, multiple stacked toasts. So we would create an element, append, set timeout, remove, template literals. Okay. I have an idea here of what we would be doing. Okay. So we want to make sure that there's a button. So let's put in a button. The type equals button. This is definitely going to have an ARIA label of close. And then we would want, well, we don't need a span because we have an ARIA label. So we would want probably like an SVG, like a close SVG, right? Let's go grab one. I mean, here's what I'm thinking. I wanted to make sure that we had the CSS in place before doing the challenges. But is figuring out this markup and this part of the process, do we think that that's an important part of also doing the challenge? I mean, when people click the video to watch, are they also going to want to see what I'm doing now, where I'm reading this documentation and deciding on the markup? I don't know. Okay, let's just keep going. Well, we're only doing this for the first 10, right? So maybe for the remaining 20, we'll just see how it goes. Maybe for the remaining 20, a 2 to 3 hour stream is enough to sort out the details with the markup and the CSS. The markup and the CSS and the JavaScript. And Malik says, I think they want the full process. Yeah, I'm kind of thinking that too. Should I wait and do this part when we're actually working on these prompts? Because we have so many things styled, right? Even the things that aren't styled at this point, are like 2/3 styled, right? Maybe we stop here with styling UI elements and we just finish our layout so we can get this thing deployed on Tuesday. Is that a better approach? I would like to hear, I feel like it is, because I feel like people would want to see this part, me reading documentation and asking these questions, because that is such an important part of the problem solving. And I want part of that to be part of the actual prompt and actually writing the JavaScript. Yeah, Malik agrees. I do too. Okay. Well, then let's do this. Let's just finish styling. Let's just finish styling this thing, because that's the thing that I really feel like we need to get done before Tuesday, right? So let's just spend the weekend finishing our layout styles, making sure that everything is responsive. I think that we have so many good styles in place that any additional styling that we do to support the prompt or whatever UI element goes with that prompt is not going to be that hard. And let's face it, it's HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. It's all three. It's all three. So we can still include some CSS, right? Okay. Look at us. Teamwork. Consensus. I love it. Okay. I think that makes sense. So let's pivot. Let's pivot for a moment. Where's my coffee? Okay. All right. So what's the first thing? What's the first thing that we want to do? I'm going to dismiss some of these other things. We don't need them. So what's the first thing that we need to do? I don't like this color change, this stripy color change, so I'm actually going to take that out. The other thing that I want to do is do a gradient on this header. So those are the first two things that we are going to do. Let's go back up to our section. Yeah, I prefer this. And Jimmy is here. He says, why are we still learning this? Because we have AI tools. Yeah, you still need humans to do the work. AI does not replace human beings. AI is a tool that can spit out code. It doesn't replace a person that actually solves problems. It doesn't replace people who understand who the user is or the mission or the values of the organization. Those are all things that developers need to know in order to be good at their jobs. Certainly, some developers sit in the corner and they complete their tasks and they're not super involved in conversations with their leadership teams. And there's nothing wrong with that. But those are the developers who are going to be replaced by AI first. The developers who know how to have conversations with their leaders and their team members and who contribute and understand the users and the mission of the organization, those are the human beings that we still need to do this work. So AI is good at helping with code and solve coding problems, and it can be an excellent strategic partner. I can tell you, I've had great AI is a great strategic partner when it comes to like marketing or helping me with my YouTube channel, titles, thumbnails, things like that. I love it, but it doesn't replace a human being. It doesn't replace me. It doesn't know who the people are in my chat, or it, yeah, it needs me to tell it what my goals are and what I want to do and what I want to teach and what I want to communicate to my users and my subscribers. I tell it what I need. It does not tell me what I need. So if it was just about code, that would be one thing. But human beings still need to do this work. That's a good question. So when I get questions like that, I am making the assumption that it's a person who's interested in learning development, somebody who thinks it looks interesting, but the only information that they're really getting from people or from dev YouTube is that AI is taking over. Developers will be obsolete. There's no reason to learn how to do this anymore. So they're sitting and thinking like, well, I'm genuinely interested in learning how to do this. But if AI is going to take over, then why would I bother? Why would I take the time to do it? And then they come across my channel or other channels, because there's lots of people out there doing what I'm doing. And they're like, well, what is the point of this? The only information I'm getting is that this is pointless. Why would you do this? AI is taking over. So why in the world are you doing this? So if you're thinking about starting and you want to learn how to do it, you should do it. We still need human beings to do this work. So certainly you don't need my permission, but you appear to have asked me for my opinion. So there it is. Okay. We took out our stripies. Let's give our header a little bit of a gradient. I did this on my own header. I've spent a bit of time the last couple of weeks doing upgrades on my own website that I'm pleased with. But you can see here that there's a gradient. So it's dark, light, and then dark again. So let's check here. Let's see what I did. So here's what I did. Gradients are done with the background image property and linear gradient. And Christian Codes, oh, welcome Christian Codes, also a mod in the chat. Your response is so kind. Oh, thank you. I mean, listen, when I get questions like that, I see it as an opportunity to educate people. So maybe it was meant as snark. I used to take them as snark, but I've had time to reflect because I get the questions so often at this point that I'm just like, I'm getting the question so often. It has to be because people are genuinely confused. They really don't get it. So, yeah. Let's see if we can convert. Let's see if we can convert some non-believers. That's what I'm here to do. Okay, so background image linear gradient. We don't even have to put in stop points, right? We can just put in dark, light, dark. We're going to go to the right, and let's see if we can. I love doing linear gradients on backgrounds because it just gives it like a little bit of depth. So let's do that on our header right here. So right now we just have a background color. I'm just going to comment that out, and we'll do background image linear gradient, and we're going to go to the right, and there is a comma, so we'll do comma, and then we'll do var, and I'm going to do dark teal. We'll see how this goes. We might have to play with this. Comma var. Let's try light teal, comma, var, dark teal. I like it. I like it. Gives it a little bit of depth. Gives it a little bit of depth. Should we give this a box shadow as well? We definitely could. And Jimmy says, I'm a software engineering student. I am thinking we learn code, but not how to marketing and not how to sell our product. What do you think? How to pitch a big market? Yeah, I'm definitely the wrong person to ask about that. I understand marketing. I worked at marketing. I am not a very good marketer. So unfortunately, I am the wrong person to ask about that. That actually is a great question for ChatGPT. I think ChatGPT or any AI tool, whatever you prefer to use, is a really great strategic partner for marketing. It's helped me so much with my YouTube channel and some of the things that I like to do or some of the ideas that I have. Check out, ask ChatGPT. This is perfect. This is a great example of how you tell ChatGPT what your ideas are, what your goals are, the approach that you would like to use in order to execute an idea, right? It's an excellent strategic tool because my understanding is that it's behind the scenes, it's silently gathering data from all of the people who use it. Like, as you use ChatGPT to ask questions, you are also feeding the algorithm. Do we call it an algorithm? You're basically feeding it information that it can use to help other people. That's literally what's going on for that's why it's getting so much better. It's because so many people use it. And certainly a lot of marketers are using ChatGPT as a strategic tool. So if you have ideas for marketing or you need to pitch a product, plug it into ChatGPT. It will be an excellent tool at helping you. So there's that. Okay. I like the gradient. Let's give this a little bit of a box shadow just to give it a tiny bit of depth. We could also, should we just try this with the regular teal and see how it looks? Oh, I think I actually do like that better. Look at that. Just a tiny bit of depth. It's a little more subtle, isn't it? And if we flipped it, we would get that subtlety over here, wouldn't we? So maybe if this was teal, this was dark teal, and then this was teal. What do we think of that? I like that. I like that. So we get the contrast here on the left over the navigation. We get the contrast here in the middle. We could, instead of doing it with 3 colors or 3 stops, we could just do 2. Yes, this is it. So we get the contrast here on the far left over the navigation, and we still get the contrast here over the rest of the body. Love it. Yeah, let's give it a little bit of text shadow and see how that goes, or excuse me, box shadow. I'm not convinced we need box shadow because it's a dark color, so we would probably want to use, normally I would use black against white, right, as a shadow. We might want to try not white, but this gray. We'll try it. Okay, so 0 on the x-axis, 1 pixel on the y-axis, 1 pixel blur, 1 pixel spread, and we can certainly adjust that if we need to. And then this would be, we need the RGBA value for this color gray. $234, $234, $234. Okay. And then normally I put in my alpha transparency at around 10%. We'll see how this looks. I mean, you mostly see it on the body. I don't know if I love it. If we take out the Y value, what happens? It's a little better. Okay, we're not gonna worry about a box shadow. Yeah. And then that's one less thing that we have to transition when we do a light dark toggle. There we go. Okay, love it. Here's the other thing that we need to do. So here's the behavior that I noticed for our sticky sidebar. I'm gonna remove myself here. So when I scroll the sticky sidebar, let's start at the top. So when I scroll, I'm going to start both at the top. So when I scroll the sticky sidebar, I get down this far. It doesn't scroll beyond the page because the page itself hasn't finished scrolling. So again, my mouse is in the sidebar. I keep scrolling. We got to get to the bottom of the page. Here's the footer. And then we pull this up. We pull that up. But it's kind of the opposite when we scroll this up. So we get to the top, and if the behavior were the same, we would keep scrolling and we would think that the page also had to scroll all the way to the top, but it doesn't. There. Now we finish going all the way to the top. So that's fine. All we need to do to make sure that we get to the bottom of our navigation in the sticky sidebar before we finish scrolling is we need to add this amount of padding, which is how much? So the height of this is 97 pixels. So maybe we could just say 100 pixels, which is how many rems? .25. We'll start with that. So it's going to add space to the bottom of this list, but we're going to get the scroll behavior that we want. So for our sticky navigation, I'm so glad that I had this revelation. So for our sticky navigation, we're going to change the padding to 1 rem on top, 1 rem on the left and right, and I think we said 6.25 rems on the bottom. And now we have this extra space. So let's test it. So everything's up at the top. We scroll, and now we can get to the bottom. And obviously we're going to have to test that on mobile to make sure that we're getting the same experience on mobile because it's a much smaller window. We can't really test it now because the entire page isn't responsive. And then we scroll up and there's still space here, but you know what? I don't care because this is all kind of blended together, right? The color makes it all kind of look like one. Okay, so that was the first thing that I wanted to do. And silence for 24 hours is here. Hello, welcome. Glad you could join us. We are working on 30 days of vanilla JavaScript. Our project that starts on April 1st. So, okay, here's the next thing that I want to adjust, and then we're going to jump into our responsive styles. The way I structured, I want 30 days of so here's how I normally structure things on all of my sites, and I did it a little differently here. The home page always has the logo and the title of the site as the H1, the heading for the home page. And then on inner pages, the title of the page becomes the H1 and the logo, header, title becomes a div. That's always how I do it. And I did things a little bit differently. So here's our primary logo with our SVG, and then we have a span where 30 days of vanilla JavaScript is screen reader only text. And then we have, let me just collapse a couple of these things. Then we have our page title right here, Day 0 Component Playground. So I'm going to take this out, and I'm styling this as if this is the home page. And of course, we style by class, not by element. So it's easy to semantically make those changes. Let's go ahead and change this to a div for now. So we're going to say component playground, component UI. I didn't like this title either. Component UI elements. And then up here, let's take this. I'm going to put it after the SVG. I'm going to take out the screen reader only text, and I'm going to change this to an H1. And then this is going to be our home page markup. And then on inner pages, we change this from an H1 to a div, and we change the page title from a div to an H1. And then the remaining sections continue as H2s. That's really the right way to do it. That really is the right way to do it. And silence for 24 hours says, is it responsive on mobile screens? Not yet. We are getting to that today. So stay tuned. We are going to make sure that this is all responsive today. We actually don't have that much to do. So, yeah. Okay. So we obviously have some styling to do here. So let's make sure, let's go back to our primary logo. Right here. Oh, and you know what we're going to want to do here? We're going to want to make sure that we are also including our background gradient for the navy and the pink. So we can go ahead and do that now. So this would be navy, and this would be pink. And we'll come back and test this. So the primary logo is the container for the SVG and the span. So let's just flexbox these two things, right? We'll just say display flex, whoops, flex flow. It's a row, no wrap. Probably don't need to justify, I'll do justify content, flex start. I'm not sure we need to do that, and then I'll do align items center. And then what else do we have going on here? Clearly something got screwed up. That's no problem. We can fix that. Oh, hang on. There we go. I think that'll fix it. There we go. Okay. And then let's change, oh, I think we need a little bit of gap there, and we'll change the size. I'm just going to do 0.5 rems. We'll see if we need to do anything else. And then our font size, I'm pretty sure the default font size is 2 Ms. Yeah, default font size 2 Ms. So we could probably do font size 2 rems, 1 rem, 1.5 looks pretty good. We should probably clamp that, right? So maybe 1.1 rems on mobile. We could do 2 VW and then 1.5 rems. I don't know. We'll have to test it and see how that looks. And then I think we need to remove the margin. That's why the spacing is out of whack. There we go. Yeah. And then that holds up really well to well under 600 pixels for mobile. So what I'll probably do is then we'll hide the name, the title, and make this screen reader friendly, right? For mobile. But I think that that works just fine. Honestly, I don't even think we need to clamp it. I don't even think we need to clamp it. In fact, I'm inclined to just split the difference, 1.25 rems. And this still holds up really well to well under 600 pixels. And then we can just hide that. Even that kind of works. Do we want to hide the social media buttons instead and keep the title? Because that kind of works, that would kind of work too. Okay, let's get this, boy, I hadn't thought of that. Maybe it's better to hide the social media buttons and keep the title. Maybe we could put the social media buttons down here for mobile. Oh, I'm so glad I switched gears because this is exactly how I want to spend this weekend. This is a much better use of our time this weekend. Yeah, much better use of our time. Okay. Let's get this thing responsive. There's more. There's so much. I still have more ideas. Do you have a design already ready for this project? You're looking at it. Are we looking at the same thing? Do you have a design already for this project? Do you not see what I'm looking at on the screen? This is the design. What you're looking at is the design. Hopefully you can see what I'm doing. Okay. Mobile. So when do we want to hide the navigation? I'm going to go with 1024. So here's 1024. I feel like this all holds up pretty well at about 1024. So at 1024, we're going to go ahead and hide this. So right now it's position sticky. I'll go here and write our media query. And Malik says, guess they meant like markup. Okay, I mean, how would it look on smaller screens? I'm doing that now. I'm doing it now. I designed it. I don't have mockups. I think you're asking if I have mockups for mobile. No, I almost never have mockups for mobile. I just write the code and I visualize how I want it to look, and that's exactly what I'm doing right now. That's part of the process of building the site, right? Is that I get the desktop. Okay, so this is fair. My process is that I tend to get everything locked in on desktop before I ever touch anything mobile. It doesn't mean that I'm not thinking about mobile or that my markup isn't structured where I'm taking into account the mobile experience, but I am doing everything desktop first, mobile second. That's my process. In my experience as a front-end developer, unless I am specifically working on an app, let me repeat that, unless I am specifically working on an app, I have never been given mobile-first designs. I have always, in my 13-year career of building websites for desktop browsers, I have always been given a full set of desktop designs. On a few occasions, I am given specific mobile designs because the designer has something very specific that they want me to implement for mobile that I might not have come up with on my own. Most of the time, I am never given mobile designs. Never. Most of the time, I'm given desktop designs and am left to my own devices to come up with the mobile layout. And honestly, it's not that hard. However you write your HTML or your markup, that's probably how your mobile experience is going to look. That's why I spend so much time working on markup. That's why I dedicate the first part of the build to the markup, because I'm thinking about how, okay, this is how this is probably going to look on mobile, and this is how I need this to also behave so I can style it for desktop. And then to me, mobile is almost always removing your layout for the desktop and letting it stack naturally how it occurred in the DOM. That's usually how it works. So, and I'm not talking about you specifically, Silence, for 24 hours, because you've been here for a few months now. So I know that you know my process. You've been here and you've watched lots of my live streams. So this is more for people who might be new here. When I start a project, I spend almost like the first couple of sessions, or even if it's just the first day, depending on the size of the project, just writing markup, thinking what do I need to include here so this works on desktop and so it also works on mobile. And I almost never have designs for mobile. I just don't. It's just such a normal part of the process to not have them. So if you're a front-end developer who gets both fully fleshed out designs for desktop and mobile, congratulations. I'm happy for you. Hasn't been my experience. But again, I have worked on a couple full stack apps that were only mobile apps. They were not desktop apps. And that's the one case, those are the situations where the designs are exclusively mobile. There is no desktop. So hopefully that makes sense. Hopefully that makes sense. Okay. So the navigation is sticky. We're going to change the position now. We're going to change these things. We're actually going to change this to fixed, and we're going to style this off canvas. It's already, this is a little different from how we normally do it, transform, translate, 0. So this is like our baseline, because the animation for that off canvas navigation to come back on screen is the transform property. So normally I set the baseline to translate 0 for mobile. I mean, we technically don't need this for desktop, do we? So maybe we could just take this out and continue to do it that way. I don't think that's going to have any impact. We're not actually transitioning anything on desktop. Yeah, it has no impact. So we technically don't need that for desktop. Yeah. Navigation. So we're going to change this position to fixed. It's going to completely take it out of the flow. We're going to say top 0. So we're changing it from top 80 pixels, where it appears just under the header. I'm going to take it out completely out of the flow. I mean, we could just keep it in though. Let's see how it looks. Let's see how it looks. I'm going to do top 0, left, negative 320. Because the width is, what did we make the width? Okay, it's 400. There, and now it disappears. Okay, so now we'll put in our transition. It's a transform, translate X, and we'll set the baseline to 0. We already have our height and our width. Here's where we really need this max width. So we don't need the max width on desktop. We took that out because that's what was making it squishy, right? But we do want that here. And then when we click our button, we're going to add an active class. So it would be menu active, and we have to add our button. We didn't add it yet. Menu active navigation. And then we would transform the translate. And it would be plus 400 pixels, which moves it to the right. So then we could come to our body right here, and we would add menu active. And you can see there that it pops out. We also need to give this a z-index. We'll give it a z-index of, well, what's our z-index here? 1. We actually need it to be, I think, 2 or 3. I'm going to set it to 3. We can adjust that if we need to. We can also transition the transform 300 milliseconds. I like to do a linear transition. We also need to make sure that this is visibility hidden because we don't want it to be accessible by a screen reader. So we'll change this on when it's active to visibility visible. Whoops. And we will also transform the visibility. Visibility, also 300 milliseconds, linear. Just like that. So let's go ahead and add our buttons to the markup because we don't have those yet because I forgot to add them. So here's our navigation right here. We'll add our button with a type of button. The ARIA, ARIA label is open menu. And I don't think I grabbed a hamburger menu. Let's do that. So hopefully silence for 24 hours, that answers your question. Yes, it is helpful to have a toggle with an animation. Okay. Menu outline. And our SVG, SVG should be ARIA hidden true, so screen reader doesn't read it out. We're also going to take out the stroke of current color. We leave the attribute, but we remove the value. Now we can style that. We can add our own color. And that's not going to be styled. Menu. Oh, actually, I put in the wrong one, didn't I? No, that's the right one. Where is it? I don't see it. Oh, there it is. Hiding right there. Oh, we actually need to put this. That is not the right place to put it, though, is it? That's fine. Oh, that's interesting. Well, actually, I think this will be okay. So here's the social navigation. I think we're going to want to put this right here. Oh, I didn't even think of this. I got lucky. The next element that comes after this button, even though it's like a grandchild, is the navigation. I got lucky here because you really want this button to come before the navigation. And look how far removed these are, but they are in the correct order. And Silence for 24 Hours says, do you have VS Code Copilot code? Do you have VS Copilot code completion on? No, I don't. I generally don't use that. Yeah, I don't like to use that. I solve my problems the old-fashioned way. So, especially for the purposes of the stream, the whole point of this live stream is to show people the problem solving. So, I have nothing against AI. I have used GitHub Copilot occasionally on this channel, but I like to show people. I like to show people how I actually solve the problem and work through the solutions. So, okay. So I'm going to do a little bit of focus time. If I don't respond right away to the chat, just know that I will get to it at the end. I'm gonna focus in now on getting some of these styles done. Okay. So we do want this button to come before the nav element. We got lucky here. We need to make sure that this has an ID. We'll call it main nav. And then we're going to give this button some ARIA controls. ARIA controls main nav, so it knows what it controls. And then also ARIA expanded. ARIA expanded. By default, it's going to be ARIA expanded false. And then we're going to change this attribute when we toggle our body class to open and close the menu. We're going to toggle this attribute from false to true. So now we should see that right up here. Yeah. And it does kind of screw up our flexbox, doesn't it? Can I put that button inside the nav element? I think I can, right? Can I? It's not navigation though. So probably what we need to do is we just need to put a div around this, and that will take care of that. So let's say div, we'll just call it the icon wrap. Literally, that's all it needs to do, is it needs to put all of this in a wrapper so it doesn't break our layout. I mean, it still kind of broke the layout, but that's fine. So here's our icon wrap. This is, I think this is display block, which is why this is getting pushed to the second line. So if we make social navigation display inline block, that might resolve that. Yep, that resolved that. So now we can just style this button. So there's our container. Here's our nav. These things all have 0.25 rems of gap. So once we style this button SVG, we're going to want to make sure that it looks like the other buttons and has that gap. So let's go ahead and style this. We'll give our buttons. Gosh, I usually do this when I write I just made this big deal about all the time that I spend on markup, and I completely overlooked this. So, okay, so this is the open menu. Wait, let's menu open and menu button. I need both. Menu open, menu button. Let's go back to our navigation. Put them here. Menu button, because there will be two. So we want the we want it to be like this, right? Menu button SVG, and I think it's I think this is a stroke. Yep. And we need to make sure that these are vertical align middle. Yeah, sometimes this doesn't work as well as I like it to. Middle used to work all the time. Oh, it needs some padding, that's why. Okay, so middle will probably be fine. So menu button. So what did we do up here? Padding 0.875. This is what we did right here. Actually, all of these. Almost all of these. But not display block. So we need to fix the transition there. Is it because, is it giving it line height because it's display inline block? Can I just change the line height? Or are you going to force me to use flex? That helped. There, bottom works. There, now we're aligned. Sometimes you just gotta play I would have switched to Flexbox if I had to. Okay. And okay, and let's fix our SVG on hover. Which is, I think we just have to change this to stroke. What's happening here? Why can't we? Oh. There we go. So this should be display none on desktop, right? And then the menu button on mobile is display block or display inline block. So here we're on mobile. There we go. So we see our button. And it goes right in line. And I think since these are display inline block, you can see that there's that tiny little gap that you naturally get with display inline block. So we don't have to add a gap. So I am perfectly happy with this. Although, yeah, we can't control. That is one of the benefits of Flexbox, is that you can really control the flex flow. You can say no wrap, and this is going to want to wrap. Yeah. I am going to be forced to use Flexbox. Once again, I am foiled by display inline block. That's a bummer. I just can't seem to get display inline block to really work for me like I used to be able to. Although, if I'm being honest, this was always an issue. I could, controlling the wrap. And I don't think that can I say white space no wrap? Does that work on display inline block? That's a good question. Let's try it. So normally, because the whole point of display inline block is that you get the best of both properties, right? And white space no wrap is one of the great things about display inline, that you can tell things not to wrap to the other line. I had literally never even thought of it. White space no. It's not even giving me, it's not auto-completing, which doesn't sound good. Yeah. Let's look this up. MDN white space. Okay, the white space CSS property sets how white space inside an element is handled. The property specifies two things: whether and how white space is collapsed, whether and how lines wrap. Note, to make words break within themselves, use overflow wrap, word break, or hyphens instead. Doesn't say anything about only being available with a specific display. So maybe it needs to be on the container. Does it show us anything? Does it talk about the container? So it's putting it so what if we try to use it on the icon wrap class? Put it here. Wow, look at that. Nice. So we have a solution now. We can put white space no wrap on a parent container. It is not dependent on display property. And we can ask a container to not wrap to the second line. So silence for 24 hours says, or simply hide the social icons except for the burger menu. Yeah, we are going to do that. But the problem is, without this property, it breaks too early. Well, maybe not too early, but I would like it to hold up as long as possible. So we go to mobile at 10:24 and we show our hamburger menu, right? But we still have a lot of room up here. And I would like to preserve this as long as possible. So maybe at 700. The whole point of doing this, so you're not wrong, but the whole point of doing this is that we understand these properties, right? And that we are solving these types of problems. That's what I'm here for. So I like this. I'm going to keep white space no wrap because that means that I can continue to use display inline block. And I want to continue using display inline block. And then we already have our vertical align on the sibling that comes immediately before. And I'm also going to make sure that the vertical align and the line height are also on the button. So it's on both. Yeah. I love it. I love it. I've fought with that before with display inline block and never occurred to me to even try that. It's one of the great things about using Flexbox, right? That you can really control the wrap. But sometimes Flexbox just feels like overkill to me. Even though it's incredibly simple, I love display inline block. Display inline block is how we got a lot of stuff done back in the day, but well before Flexbox, right? So now let's make sure that when we kind of pop into mobile at 10:24, what's happening here with our wrapper. Oh yeah, that's the other thing that I was going to do. Our wrap is 62.5 rems. Why is it so small? Oh, it's because we need to change this and it will be just fine. So our section container has this calculation to help with that sidebar column for desktop. So let's also write a media query for that. So where is that? What line is that? So section container 332. That's not right. Wait, here we go. Section container 332. At media, max width 1024. And we're just going to say with 100%. There we go. So far, so good. Love it. Let's make sure that our nav has a close button. So we'll add another button here. So here's our navigation. We're going to put the button right in here. We'll say button, type button, and our class, we've got menu open, so we're going to do menu close. That's just going to help us when we get to our JavaScript, and then menu button. And we don't need, well, we do need an ARIA label. Close menu. We don't need ARIA controls. We don't need ARIA expanded. We don't need controls because we are inside the thing that we're controlling. We don't need ARIA expanded because we are inside the thing that is either expanded, true or false. And then this is our close outline right here. ARIA hidden true. And we're going to take out this stroke value. And we can go ahead and there we go. So this is pretty well styled. We need to adjust some of the sizing on this. That's a pretty small button. So we'll just adjust some of the sizing, but we have a unique class, right? We have menu close. So all I'm really going to do here with menu close is first we'll position it. So here's menu button, menu button, menu button. Then we'll do menu close. And I'm just going to say margin left auto. And that'll just left right on. Margin left. Left, right. That should push it over to oh, I think it needs to be, does it need to be in the media query? No, it doesn't need to be in the media query. Margin left auto should push it over. It's not margin right, it's margin left. Why aren't you pushing over? You've got room. You've got all the room in the world. Oh, is it because... No, it's fine. you doing what I want you to do? So the easiest way to push a button over is to just say margin left auto. So what if we did close. So the buttons are display inline block, right? They're still display inline block, yeah. Vertical align, line height. It's got enough specificity here in the browser, right? There's nothing overriding it. Overflow is visible. Is it, no, I don't think that's it. God help me if I have to use float. I mean, what if I did, yeah, that generally doesn't center in, is that why? Because it's display inline block? So it needs to be, I think it needs to be changed to display block. But that's gonna make, is that gonna, now it doesn't have enough specificity. We're gonna figure this out. There we go. It just needed to be display block. Okay, note to self. So I guess I knew that. It has to be display block in order for the margin auto on the left and right to work. One moment, please. Okay. So let's adjust that SVG a little bit. It's pretty small, 1.25. We'll have to adjust then the padding, which is perfectly fine. Right now it's 0.875, but I feel like this SVG got smaller somehow. I don't feel like it used to be that small. Anyways, that's fine. So we want, I think we can change our padding to 0.5 rems, and then we'll just change the SVG for the menu close button. So we'll say width 2 rems, height 2 rems. That should bump it up a little bit. There we go. Much better. And we have that nice 48 by 48 tap target. We just made the SVG bigger, we reduced the padding, and we still have the same tap target. Everything still looks the same here. Love it. We do want to make sure that when the menu is open, I kind of feel like we should increase the size of the hamburger menu too, right? So maybe for menu button, we just want to make this change. So maybe here we can just do this instead. Because they're all a little bit different, I'm noticing. And then we wouldn't need this, and we wouldn't need this. Yeah, I like this a little bit better. So when the drawer is open, we want the visibility of this button to be hidden. I don't want to display none it because it's going to shift our navigation. I just want visibility hidden because I don't want keyboard navigation or a screen reader to have access to this button, and visibility hidden is how we do that. Does this seem too big? Oh, Angela, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. It's fine. So it's the menu open. So menu active, menu open, visibility hidden. So when the menu is open and active, the visibility is hidden. Just like that. That is how I deal with that. So we could, no, I'm going to leave it. I was thinking we could push this down beneath the header. I'm going to leave it. I think it's just fine. So here's how this is going to look on mobile. So do we want, I kind of want to put like a border here or a separator. Something just with a little bit of visual interest. But this does scroll. We have this extra padding down here at the bottom. Which we needed for desktop. So if we didn't have that, are we still scrolling enough? Yeah, I think it's still good to have some padding down there. Maybe it doesn't need to be 6.25, but maybe it could be like 3. Just a little something down here. And I kind of want to add maybe a little bit of a border above here. Just a little bit of visual interest. Let's do that. So the class for the main nav, we'll go ahead and just put it in here, is just main_nav. That's the UL. And I'm going to say margin. Generally, I start with padding. I'm going to say padding 0.5 rems on the top, 0 on the left and right, 0 on the bottom. And then margin 0.5 rems, 0 on the left and right, 0 on the bottom. And then let's do a border, top 2 pixels, solid. And I'm just going to do like a light teal. Actually, I wanted to do dotted. Let's just do regular teal. Oops. I don't know if that matters. Yeah, we don't need I don't think we need the border. Well, there's nothing stopping me from coming back and improving upon this. I think what matters right now is that we have a functional navigation. Let's make sure that we adjust the padding on the nav element right here inside our media query. I like 3 rems. There we go. All right, so there's our mobile navigation. So we'll go ahead and write the JavaScript for that tomorrow. We've done that a gajillion times here, so that won't be a problem, but I'm very happy with this. So let's just make sure that the rest of our header is doing what we want it to. And I have to tell you, I'm okay with the wrap of 30 days of vanilla JavaScript, and I think I'm just going to hide the navigation. But let's hide the navigation inside. Well, so that would mean that we have, I don't generally like to do this, but there's nothing wrong with doing it. We're going to have 2 sets of social buttons. So here's our social navigation. Here's the UL. Let's collapse this. And then here's our nav element with our main nav. I don't see why we can't put this. We'll hide this on mobile and show it here. Why not? So let's make sure. So this is, we'll call this social nav mobile. Well, let's not make it a totally different class. We don't want to lose those styles. So let's call it social nav, social mobile. And then we can call this, we'll give this an extra class of social desktop. Yeah. Let's go back to our social section. I'm going to take this out. I already know I don't want to do this. Here's our header. Here's our social icons. So we're really just dealing with the is that a good idea? Well, we would actually want to put it on the nav element, not the UL, because I want this entire thing to be hidden. So it's going to be a little bit of the opposite. I want that entire thing to be hidden on mobile. Yeah. So social desktop, where's our mobile? Let's see here. I'll start a media query. So I'm going to do, let's just start with 768. That's kind of the old school iPad portrait media query. And we'll say social desktop. I'm going to just say display none. And then we would want the social mobile to be, I guess, display block, right? And ideally, they have the same style, so it'll just appear at the bottom of the navigation. I don't know. Makes sense to me. Let's see what happens. Yes. Okay. This holds up pretty well. I mean, we have a couple of the things to do here, but I like this. I like this. So let's see what our actual flyout nav looks like. All right, so we have to fix this a little bit, but that's okay. These are still mostly style. We just have to deal with the display properties, but we're headed in the right direction. Let's make sure that on desktop, let's make sure that on desktop these are hidden. So the social mobile, we'll put it up here. Well, technically it's in our nav element, right? Where's the right place to put that? Maybe we want to put this. I just want to make sure my specificity is kind of clean. Should we put it down here? Social desktop, social mobile. That means that social mobile, which appears inside the nav element, at the bottom of the UL would be right here. Social mobile. This is display. I mean, I don't know. Technically, it could live in both places, but I don't think it needs to. Yeah, I think it's cleaner to not have it living in both places. So now, because we have our menu active class here, we need to make sure social mobile, display none, social, probably want that at 1024. Oh yeah, that's an interesting. That means it would briefly appear in both spots. Well, maybe we just do it earlier. Kind of takes all the joy out of white space no wrap, doesn't it? All right. Display block. Oh, display flex. There we go. And we just want to adjust this so these are, because these are flex end, so we'll just do flex, or rather, justify content, center. And we'll just give these a little margin on the top. Maybe a rem of margin on the top, 0 on the left and right, 0 on the bottom. There we go, just pushes it down a little. Yeah, I mean, I guess that works, right? Well, we're obviously going to be testing on mobile. So, okay, what else? This went really well, and we're right at 2 hours. So I think tomorrow we'll write the JavaScript for our click events for the buttons for the navigation. We'll definitely test on mobile. We need to style this little about section, and I'll write some content also. That shouldn't take too long. I mean, we really got the heavy lifting of this layout fixed, which is something I really wanted to get done today, that I really wanted to work on. I think there's a couple of things to adjust. I mean, I'm good with this, how this looks as a mobile experience, but I think we made this JS logo really flexible, and I don't think we need to anymore. I would rather make the text flexible, clamp the text, than have this SVG be flexible. I think that's a better approach. But I'm totally good with the text wrapping, and I think this is a good mobile experience the way that looks. So we'll obviously get this pushed up, and we'll test on our GitHub page tomorrow. So, and then the page itself is fine. I think the page itself is fine. As we're completing the prompts for the 30 days, we will be writing some more CSS. We'll be styling elements. I mean, it became really obvious today that the figuring out the correct markup is definitely a part of the process of completing these prompts. It totally drives your approach to how you write the JavaScript, right? And I think that we've written enough styles that any additional styles that we write, we will be writing additional styles. It's an important part of the process because they all go together. HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, they all go together. They're all part of the problem solving process. Let's check out the chat. So Silence for 24 Hours has some good suggestions. Is suggesting try out CSS inline conditionals with the if function. I know of them. I haven't used any of them. Yeah, I think I'm going to be sticking with 1024 as a media query. I don't write too many media queries. I let the design sort of drive that. And I think that what we did here, even though 1024 tends to be a little bigger than what I normally do, because I am moving those social icons to the bottom of the navigation, I'm comfortable with 1024. Maybe we could we, maybe we could try like 768. Let's just try it and see what happens. I mean, I think I chose 1024 because of, why did hang on. So I've got more than one media query. The reason I chose 1024 is because of that fixed sidebar. Let's go back up here. Where's that section? It was like 3 something. Right here. So do you see how squishy this text area gets? Because I have this sidebar, a fixed width of 400 pixels. Normally, this is a good point. Normally, I would let what's happening in the header determine the media query for the header. That is exactly the approach that I would take. But my approach is different this time because my layout is pretty unique compared to what I normally do. I have this fixed sidebar, which is our navigation. And because that sidebar is fixed at 400 pixels, in my opinion, this just feels too narrow to me. So so here would be 960 if we wanted to do this. I mean, I don't know, I could get behind 960 as a media query. 1024 is pretty big. The header doesn't require a 1024 breakpoint. The The header would be fine probably at about 600 pixels. But what's happening on the page is driving that decision. And what's happening in your layout should always be driving that decision, whether it's the header or the page. That's the whole point of choosing breakpoints for your media queries. It's not a prescriptive number. You don't have to use a set of values. Let your layout and what's happening on your page make that determination for you. I think 960 could really be our happy medium here. Yeah. I'm good with 960. I use 960 a lot. That's the one I use the most often. I like it. So 1024 then is still going to hold up on an iPad in landscape mode. And I think that's completely fine. There's plenty of room here for all this stuff, right? I like it. So tomorrow we will write our JavaScript so we can do our click events for our buttons. We also will write JavaScript so when the flyout menu is open, we can hit the escape key to remove that class and close the menu. We need to finish styling this little about section, and I'll write some content explaining what the project is. And we'll tighten up the layout and we'll do some testing. So does the sidebar container have a fixed height, and when it's toggled on smaller screens, will the whole page scroll or just the navigation links? Well, I don't choose that behavior. We'll test it tomorrow. We'll get a good sense for the behavior tomorrow. I don't care if the whole page scrolls. My main focus, well, the page will scroll because the page will be longer than the screen on mobile, right? So I'm not going to, I think what you could do is when the navigation is open, you could say overflow hidden on the main container. You could do that, right? I'm not going to do that because I just generally don't do that, but I think you could do that. We'll test it tomorrow and we'll see how it behaves, and we can make adjustments from there. Again, that's not something I normally do, but I know that other people do that, and I don't think that there's a right or wrong way to do it. Somebody is saying, hello, hope you are well. Thank you. I am well. Noda, Notaf Sar. Thank you for joining, and thank you for hanging out. Yeah, I think this answered your question. This adjustment for 960 answered your question. Yeah, I'm very happy with this. Cool. Then what this makes me so happy because this layout has been on my mind for maybe like a week or so. Like, when are we going to get to this layout? Because once we started implementing the layout, I was just not sure about the flow of things. I was just not sure. And that's part of my process. That's part of my creative process, is that I need to work on things. I need to have time in between working on things. I need to come back and revisit things. And I just need time to think about how I want the behavior to be. I need to also implement my original ideas to see that they don't work. Because I often have this vision in my head about how I think something should work, and I implement it and I'm like, oh, this doesn't work at all. And I have to have that experience. It's a part of my process to get clarity on what does work, because I think we've all used the internet long enough to know what is and isn't a normal user experience. So I want you to embrace the process, the creative process of going into something and not having it all figured out, or thinking you have it figured out and it doesn't work. That is equally important as part of this process. So please just embrace that. Don't worry about it. It's an important part of the process. Hopefully you watching me is a demonstration of that. That's kind of the point of this. That's what I want to show people. So okay. I think we're good for today. What do you think? Whoops. Oopsies. Sorry. Come back tomorrow, Sunday. Hang out with me. We're going to wrap this up. We're going to test it. We're going to get the navigation working on mobile. We will test on mobile. And then on Tuesday this week, which is March 31st, that's our deployment day. So we're going to set up our LAMP stack. We're going to deploy this to 30 days of vanillajavascript.com. And then starting on Wednesday, April 1st, I will be here each day. Whoops, not that one. I will be here each day for the month of April. We're going to solve a prompt, a JavaScript prompt. So let's talk for just a minute about what this is and what this isn't. It's not a group coding exercise. So I suspect that there will be people in the chat who have more experience than I do with JavaScript, because the whole point of this is for me to build my skills. The prompts are about me getting better at JavaScript, right? So you, as an observer in the chat, I am inviting you to watch me work. I always welcome code suggestions in the chat. I may not look at them or take your suggestions, and that could be frustrating for you. So I'm just letting you know ahead of time how this is going to go. Please don't have hurt feelings if I don't take your suggestions, because it's not a group coding project. It's about me working through the learning process, reading documentation, asking questions. Sometimes I Google, sometimes I ask ChatGPT. That's how I learn. It's about me building my skills. So I just want to set expectations because that can be frustrating for some people. I've had this experience. But honestly, I'm super excited to do this. I'm nervous to do it because JavaScript is the thing I am the most insecure about. But after more than 1.5 years of streaming, I am learning to get over it. So with that being said, do me a favor, like the video if you haven't already. It helps the algorithm. It helps push this out to more people who might be interested in this type of content. Subscribe if you haven't yet. I would love to have you. I'm generally here 4 days a week, Saturday, Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday, at around 10:30 a.m. Central Standard Time. We just hang out for a couple of hours, 2.5 hours usually. We work on projects like this where we're just practicing, learning, problem solving. This is a vanilla channel. I don't use libraries or frameworks. I absolutely acknowledge that those two things are important, that you need to know how to do those things to be a working front-end developer in 2026. The whole point of vanilla for me is, number one, I really, really enjoy it. Number two, the 3 things that the browser renders natively are HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. And number 4, if you have a desire to be better at those things, try building a couple vanilla projects. I promise you, CSS in particular, which I'm pretty good at writing CSS. I feel like that is absolutely my strength, building UIs. But once I switched to being all vanilla, like last summer, at the end of last summer, it completely changed how I write CSS. It changed my understanding of CSS, my inheritance, specificity, all those things just got so much better, deeper understanding of user agent style sheets. I can't recommend this approach enough. Project-based learning, vanilla CSS, if you have a desire to be better at this. It worked for me. I think it would work for you too. So with that being said, I love all of you fine people. Have a great rest of your day wherever you are, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.